as we maybe talk and run out of topics to talk about, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Welcome to Ear to the Ground Sports, the first edition of the Triple Threat Hoops Tuesday Hoop Show. Got Coyote.
Mm-hmm.
I said it right.
You
And
tried.
Davion. We've talked email, all three of us, many
Mm-hmm.
times, discussed many things.
Right,
But for you
right.
guys, this is your show. I am going to disappear. And we'll start out with intros. So have a good show, and I'll be on the other side.
Awesome.
Alrighty. Good evening from wherever you're listening to this show from, the debut edition, talking about basketball. My name is Kayode Hamid, originally from Nigeria, based in Chicago. I talk and write basketball, and I've got Davion Moore with me tonight. We shall be talking about hoops, basically basketball stuff emanating from the NBA and everything that is hoops related. Davion, good to have you on the show.
Yeah, glad to be here. Just to talk about myself a little bit,
Mhm.
I'm Davion, from Sandusky, Ohio. So being from Ohio, I'm a big Cavs fan, loving what they're doing. I'm not biased, but
It's understandable.
I'm loving what they're doing. And yeah, I've been writing basketball for a couple years now, just loving the journey. It's been
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. Speaking of Ohio, Cleveland is hosting the All Star Weekend.
Yes,
Starting
yes.
in mid-February, I think starting from February 9th till 11th, or is it February 10th to 12th? I'm not so certain. But could you
Yeah.
talk about what's been happening, how the buzz has been like in the whole of Ohio, knowing that the NBA All-Star Weekend is just a few weeks from now?
Yeah. Well, first, like you said, it being in Cleveland is kind of an extra, um, just something awesome, something that's awesome to see, and I'm really just curious to see how it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been keeping up with the All-Star voting. I'd say it's pretty fair this year. Still might be a couple snubs, of course. I mean, that's natural, but yeah, I just think it's going to be a really good year, and I'm just looking forward to it. Hopefully, I can make a couple events. So we'll see.
Well, talking about the NBA All-Star Weekend, I've been privileged to attend a few from 2017 in New Orleans,
Awesome.
then in 2018 in Los Angeles, 2019 in Charlotte, and 2020 here in Chicago. Last
Cool.
year, last year, excuse me, because of the COVID pandemic, it was like an abridged version.
Hmm.
Although, because of other stuff, I wouldn't be around in Ohio, but usually the city hosting, especially when it's just a few weeks or few days before the All-Star weekend, all hotels are booked. All
Yeah.
the media
Yeah.
channels are focusing their attention on the NBA from the bloggers online, all podcasts, sports related are talking about it, to the regular television stations, on the terrestrial and even the satellite televisions on TV and radio. They get to talk about it. And it's always something that I look forward to because my very first time in the United States was to cover the NBA All-Star Weekend. And
Oh
I
wow.
was wowed. I have I have to say. And just talking about the NBA All-Star Weekend, how do you think it's gonna be like between the East and the West? What's your take like talking about the back court and the front court? If you're talking about the star-studded players you feel will be filing out at the Quicken Loans Arena come the NBA All-Star Weekend itself, what do you think you would want to see for the East and the West?
Um, really, like I said, just kind of going back to voting a little bit. One thing I'm surprised about, like I'm surprised to see John Morant get the votes that he's getting as well as he's playing. I honestly thought like Luka Doncic would, get those votes, but
Mhm.
him being right behind Steph, I think that's awesome, and I really would love to see him in the All Star game. Along with Steph, because of course Steph is going to be in it.
Mhm.
Um, and then the West starters, I think are pretty fair. Of course, LeBron. I mean, it wouldn't be right without LeBron. Joker, So there's a lot of talented guys on both conferences that I really look forward to seeing play. And I think the Cavs have a good shot of, if not being starters, because I don't see that happening, having some reserves in Jared Allen and Darius Garland. So I think, for Cleveland, that'll be a kind of a cool thing to have. First time since 98, and they have all stars in it, hopefully. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be an exciting game, deserving players, and I don't know. I'm really looking forward to the game.
Well, you're talking about some of these guys, even Mobley.
Yeah.
Has been awesome. He's been like the brightest amongst the rookies, doing excellently well. He has always been in my top three since the season began towards the end of October. So I'm expecting him to make the list for the Rising Stars.
Yeah, I agree.
Even Mobley expected to be in the Rising Stars. But maybe Colin Sexton, Garland, I don't know how they are collating in terms of votes right now. Any of them make the reserves of, say, the East, it won't come as a surprise. But in the East right now, even what's his name? Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Gets to play only away games because of the COVID-19 mandate in New York has been included in the polls right now. So he could possibly make it from the West. And speaking of the West, we know Kevin Durant is out injured for some time, but he's going to be out for about, say, 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know if he's going to be back in good time for the All-Star weekend. If he's going to be back in good time for the All-Star weekend, certainly Kevin Durant is going to make the list. And talking about the duo from Chicago here, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. A few weeks back, DeMar DeRozan could do no wrong. And even while they were missing Zach LaVine, he took it up upon himself when he was a clutch man against Indiana and even against the Washington Wizards on December 31st and on the 1st of January. Yes, they've lost a few games back to back, but I saw what they did yesterday against the Oklahoma City Thunder because they did quite well. He didn't play yesterday. It was rookie Ayo Dosunmu and Nikola Vucevic and the likes that actually stepped up to the plate. They struggled. But from what we've seen of both Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, I expect the two of them to actually make it in the East. If Kevin Durant recovers fully, that would be a good one. That would be a good one for him. Then James Harden has offed and puffed for some time. He has not been able to replicate what we saw of him with the Houston Rockets some years back. He hasn't been able to do that. So I'm expecting to see the duo of Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and the players from talking about the Brooklyn Nets. Not forgetting the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, can't forget him.
You cannot forget a Greek freak. Definitely. He's been doing well defensively and offensively. Someone who emerged the finals MVP and, of course, winning the title for Milwaukee Bucks for the first time in 50 years. And, continue from where he stopped last year. Giannis Antetokounmpo and, of course, looking at Chris Middleton, those players from these three clubs that I've mentioned, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Chicago Bulls, and of course the Brooklyn Nets. But where it's gonna give somebody like some headache is the West. We know the West is pretty much star-studded.
Yeah, West is stacked.
Exactly. You talk about the Los Angeles Lakers that has got the king, LeBron James. When you talk about the Golden State Warriors from the Bay Area that has got Steph Curry. And I read the article that you talked about, we not ignoring the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, Phoenix is playing great.
Exactly. Talk about CP3 and, of course, Devin Booker. What's your take with members of this team making it into the West as regards the All-Star weekend proper?
Right now, I definitely think both of them should make it. I can't remember exactly where Devin Booker is as far as voting, fan voting, but I know he was behind Morant, Curry, Luca. Um, but with the way Phoenix is playing, I definitely think they'll get consideration from coaches, as reserves. But yeah, they'll definitely be there. I'm pretty sure they will be one way or another.
And speaking of the Phoenix Suns, what impression have they made on you based on the article you wrote?
Uh, just how well they're playing. Being first in the West, and as you mentioned, like the West is the West is tough. Like there are a lot of pretty good
Really,
teams
really
out
tough,
there.
man. Really tough.
Yeah. So, to see what they're doing right now, they even beat Utah yesterday. And
Exactly.
Utah is a pretty good team as well.
Mhm.
So just seeing what they're doing throughout the season, I'm really impressed, and I do think that they have a legitimate chance at if not winning this year, going far in the playoffs. They'll have a deep playoff run, if nothing else.
Well, like you did say, the Phoenix Suns are a side that one should watch out for.
Hmm.
Basically, what
Yeah,
happened
definitely.
last season wasn't just a fluke.
Right.
They're
Yep.
like a well-oiled machine. Because I recall in 2020 at the bubble in
Hmm.
Florida, when they went on to win all games, but because they had lost too many games before the pandemic struck, they couldn't make it into the knockout. And they continued from where they stopped, bringing CP3 from Oklahoma City Thunder with his wealth of experience and wealth of view, making a good team better. The duo
Yeah.
of the Andrew 18 and, of course, Devin Booker kind of solidified the team, and with the veteran experience of CP3 making it better. Right about now, Cam Payton is out injured, but Bismack Biombo is also making his inclusion count.
Yeah.
I can't
Definitely.
recall the
Definitely.
last time that Bismack Biombo had double doubles. I
Exactly.
can't recall. I can't
Right.
recall the last time he had double doubles, and it seemed to be rolling back the years from while he was at Orlando Magic and, of course, the Charlotte Hornets. And he came over to the Phoenix Suns on a 10-day contract.
Right.
Can you imagine that? He came
Yeah.
to the Phoenix Suns on the 10-day contract, and right about now they're extending it. So basically, the Phoenix Suns are one team you need to watch out for in the West. They keep getting better. And Monty Williams, knowing that he lost just by the whiskers last season against the Milwaukee Bucks, they will try to do everything in their powers to at least go as far as possible in the ongoing season. So I expect at least CP3 definitely will make the starting bet in the West in the All Star weekend.
Mhm.
That's Chris Paul, without a doubt. I'm thinking Devin Booker might just sneak in, maybe start on the bench.
Yeah.
Because talking about on point guard, you got to talk about the likes of Steph Curry and, of course, Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Those ones, and of course, CP3 as well, who plays for his team, the rank ahead. So, in terms of shooting guard, maybe you look in the direction of Devin Booker. So, I'm going to be picking, say, CP3, Devin Booker. DeAndre 18 might just make the bank because he's no longer a rookie or a sophomore.
Hmm.
He's been there for quite some time. And of course, maybe Michael Bridges.
Yeah.
Michael Bridges might just be in somehow, and that's about it. But talking about other teams in the West, definitely we know the headline in the West has got to be LeBron James.
Yeah.
He's leading
Definitely.
the vote. He's leading the votes in the West. Then Steph Curry. Steph Curry somewhat has underwhelmed since breaking the 3-point record of Ray Allen some weeks back. He hasn't been able to replicate what we saw of him, but definitely he's going to make the starters bet at the NBA All Star Weekend. We're going to
Hmm.
witness the Rising Star Challenge on Friday. Then on Saturday, the usual 3-point contest and all the other razzmatazz going along with it. Then on
Yeah.
Sunday proper, we're going to witness the NBA All Star Weekend itself, talking about the East and the West. And away from the NBA All Star Weekend, let's talk about Ja Morant. We were talking about Ja Morant, but we just maybe talk about him in passing.
Hmm.
The phenom that is Ja Morant, I wrote about him was the last week or 2 weeks back, talking about how he has been able to rise from just a rookie who impressed, who became starry eyed, and rubbed shoulders with the guys he looked forward to. What can you make of his showings currently this season? And is it enough to earn him a starter bet at the All-Star weekend?
Um, First, I'm really impressed with what he's done. Like what he honestly, to an extent, he's jumped from kind of not really being mentioned to honestly potentially being an MVP candidate. I'm not saying he's going to win it. It might be a long shot, but he's at least in those talks now. So I'm really liking what he's done this season. And like how Memphis had their winning streak recently. Really just kind of putting the league on notice. And yeah, just playing great in the process. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was second in fan voting for the West guards. Which, yeah, like I said, that took me by surprise. But I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see it, and hopefully we can see him in All-Star, and he's going to put on a show. Dunks, alley-oops, whatever it is, he's definitely going to put on a show.
Well, personally, I wouldn't say I'm surprised by his exploits, basically.
True.
It's the young man who keeps getting better and who puts in the work even off the cameras. And with the team being built around him and the leeway he's gotten from the coach to basically express himself, he's been able to do that again and again. See the gravity-defying dunk he made against the Los Angeles Lakers some weeks back.
Yeah.
I definitely knew that he was going to be in among the conversation when the NBA All-Star weekend comes around in the second week of February. And I'm not surprised that he is in the mix in the top three, sometimes even the top two as regards the starters bed for the point guard. He has done really, really well for himself and getting into the conversation for the MVP. I'm not sure yet that he's right for the MVP.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but he's going to be in and among it, maybe the top five, because this season so far, we've had different players being mentioned. At some point, it was Kevin Durant. Then from Kevin Durant, we talked about Steph Curry. After Steph Curry, when, what's his name? DeMar DeRozan was doing quite well in Chicago a few weeks back, it was mentioned. Then Ja Morant. This season has been quite interesting. But let's change the conversation now to the MVP race. Who do you think would be in the top three?
That's a good question. I was saying KD, Kevin Durant before he got hurt. Giannis is having a pretty good year, I'd say. And if Steph picks back up, like you said, I know he's been kind of lackluster in January, but if he picks back up, I think you definitely have to throw him in there too. It's a lot of guys that you could choose from, but I kind of say those three right now. I could even change by the end of the night. Who knows? But right now, those are kind of the guys I'm going with right now.
Yeah, those guys are in the mix, from Steph Curry to Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak.
Yeah.
But we're not mentioning one player, Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic.
And see, that's another one, right?
He won it last season, and in the absence of Jamal Murray and Mike Malone Jr., I can't recall his name quickly now, but he's out injured. But he's been able to still keep the team buzzing and winning games thus far. Last season, it was pretty much, at this time last season, it was pretty much decided that, it's going to be Jokic's MVP to lose.
Yeah.
With the help of Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is out injured now, and Jokic is still coasting along fine, even in his absence. So that is worthy of mention. Like you did say earlier, we had KD before he got injured. Even before KD got injured, earlier on in the first few months, it was just KD all the way. Then Steph Curry started throwing trays like it's going out of fashion before he went lackluster, like you did say.
Yeah.
Then at some point, it was Jamel Morant. Jamel Morant kept, wowing us with impressive performance game after game. And when they were on that winning streak, it felt like, oh, maybe he could prove naysayers wrong. But also, somebody has been steady in Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, forgetting the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo was instrumental in helping the Milwaukee Bucks win their first title in 50 years. Defensively and offensively, we know what it brings to the table. And in terms of rebounds, he's definitely quite good. So basically, as an all-round player, Yanis Antetokounmpo for now might just be my candidate
Okay.
because he's been able to, stay consistent, helps with rebounds, his stats keeps increasing. Although his team is not, if I'm going to check the standings in the East right now, his team is not, let me see, because they are fourth in the East with 30 victories and 19 losses.
Okay.
But generally in the East, even Miami that is top has lost 17 games so far with 30 wins. So it's still pretty much okay.
Yeah.
So with that, I would say the Milwaukee Bucks are doing quite well, but it's not yet Wuru. The league is still up until maybe before the regular season ends. So who knows? Maybe somebody might just wow us from nowhere, despite not being in the race. But I'll say Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and maybe Steph Curry.
Okay.
Steph Curry is like the cat with the nine lives. When you think, oh, maybe he's having a bad patch, he proves you wrong, and he goes on a run, breaking records
Exactly.
and what have you. I don't know who's going to clinch it, who's going to win it, but in no particular order, I'll say Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But King James, with injury back and forth and what have you, he's not been able to actually being consistent. Although he apologized a few days back
Mm-hmm.
when they lost scandalously to the Sacramento Kings. And speaking about the Los Angeles Lakers, what do you make of the campaign thus far?
It's been pretty underwhelming. I think a lot of people kind of went in expecting them to play a lot better, but like now they're kind of like a fringe 500 team. They're they're right there just trying to get above 500, but then they might lose a game and back where they started. They'll be a playoff team and hopefully they do better in the playoffs, but just right now, yeah, they're definitely underwhelming. However, with Anthony Davis coming back, I believe he's coming back tonight.
He's coming back to
Yeah, I think that's going to help out at least a little bit. And I know like people have been messing with Westbrook quite a bit lately, but yeah, I don't know. That's a team. Hopefully they get it together come playoff time.
And has Westbrook made the team better or worse, in your opinion?
I'm leaning towards worse, personally, but I don't know. Like he's kind of being a scapegoat right now. Like, yeah, he's not doing, not doing the best, but it's also not just all on him. Like I think the Lakers as a whole just kind of need to buckle down and really, gear up for playoff time. But yeah, just right now they're just kind of in a weird space.
Well, right now they are in the playing zone.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 23 games and lost 24.
Yeah, see
In the
there.
playing zone, anything can just happen. When
Yeah.
they brought on Russell Westbrook, it was quite emotional for him. He's from LA,
Mm-hmm.
and being back home playing on home court, I felt maybe that would help his game get better.
Right.
I didn't quite understand how he was gonna settle in the game because of his dominant personality. If you look at
True.
Westbrook from his days back at the Oklahoma City Thunder to the Washington Wizards, the team usually is built around him.
Yeah.
They usually give him the leeway to do stuff. Maybe sometimes, maybe doing coast to coast effort and not passing to players, which could tend towards him being selfish.
Right.
But the team
Right.
has always been about him, being built around him, and is always the face of the franchise. Talking about Oklahoma City Thunder for some time, especially when Kevin Durant moved to the Golden State Warriors
Hmm.
and James Harden moving to the Houston Rockets. So it
Right.
was all about him. And for some years, it was just about him and the team. He tried to do that at the Washington Wizards as well. At some point, he clashed with Bradley Beal
Hmm.
because John Wall moved to the Houston Rockets. And when it was coming down to the Los Angeles Lakers, I was like, okay, we know who the big dog is in LA.
Yeah.
Definitely is King James.
Right.
And how is he gonna, play second fiddle or even third fiddle? Because after King James, you've got AD, Anthony Davis,
Hmm.
and they also brought in Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah. Yep.
Carmelo Anthony has been there, done that, represented the national team. He was a poster boy of the New York Knicks, did excellently well with the Nuggets some years back, especially in the early days, and being a contemporary of LeBron James. So I was a bit concerned about how Westbrook was going to fit in Los
Hmm.
Angeles. So it did not come as a surprise to me when he was floundering and struggling to make his inclusion count.
Yeah.
I did say that they might struggle. And apart from the fact that it might take them to actually gel because of the, egos around, talking about LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis, and even Russell Westbrook
Hmm.
and other players as well. I'm talking about Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Dwight
I was
Howard
just
might
thinking that.
be a big
Yeah.
part player, but Dwight Howard as well is a big player, so to speak, especially having done excellently well in the past with the Orlando Magic and the Houston Rockets, and haven't played before at the Los Angeles Lakers.
Hmm.
So I was a bit concerned as to how Russell Westbrook was going to adjust to life at the former Staples Center, now the Crypto Arena, like they
Yeah.
call it. So it didn't come as a surprise to me when he started struggling, and I was like, okay, it might take some time, but so far he has huffed and puffed. And if I'm gonna rate him, it's gonna be below 50. He
Hmm.
could do better. He could just maybe try to take the headlines and stop trying to impress.
Yeah.
Just play as a team member, and your game will shine through rather than trying to showboat, do stuff. Maybe you want to do a slam dunk or try to dribble every player
Hmm.
and fail to pass the ball or trying to grab a rebound and what have you.
Yeah.
So
Do it like just taking on too much, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
trying to do too much.
Yeah.
So I was a bit skeptical as to how we was going to adjust to life in LA. And so far I haven't really been proven wrong. But I know it could still be better if it still finds a way to just play a beat patrol and try to be supportive more. That
Hmm.
aside, I was also concerned about the ages of the players.
Yeah. Yeah.
LeBron and Carmelo Anthony are in their late 30s. Russell Westbrook is not exactly young no longer. And the guys they were building with, they actually sold all of them.
Hmm.
From Lonzo Ball to Kyle Kuzma and this other guy in New Orleans.
Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
The core of the players, they sold all of them out. So they were bringing in, achieved players. And you forget that at some point, these players who have achieved will start getting injured and it will take a while for them to actually recover.
Hmm.
So how is youth gonna mix with veteran? So
True.
I was like, okay, let's see what Rob Pelinka will try to do and how they're gonna fare this season. And a record of 23-24, okay, not bad. But Anthony Davis is in the mix somewhere.
Yeah.
He's not so young, he's not so old, so the team can be built around him going forward, knowing that the likes of LeBron James are getting old. but Anthony Davis has been injured.
Mm-hmm.
So, which explains why they've struggled.
Yeah, true.
So,
That's
if
true.
they can make the playoffs, right now they are eighth or ninth with a record of 23-24. If they can
Mm-hmm.
make the playoffs, fine. That will be success for me. Maybe in the off season they can try to re-strategize, go to the drawing board, and come up with new strategies to help them do well, trying to win another championship. But I'm not expecting too much from the Los Angeles Lakers
Yeah.
this season, so it's not coming as a surprise. Or what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree totally. Like I said, I thought they were going to be a little bit better, but at the same time, I'm also not surprised. So, they're not getting a championship this year, of course not. But, um, we'll see how they play out for the rest of the season. With their struggles and everything, I think they can kind of improve. But yeah, it's kind of like a wait and see with them right now for me. Just wait and see what they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the news is that Anthony Davis will start for the Los Angeles Lakers tonight against the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
So it's going to be quite interesting because he has missed about 17 games with a sprained left knee.
Yeah. Yep.
With his return, we just talked about it, that you don't see them doing too many. But do you think with his return, they can get back to winning ways?
Yeah, at least somewhat. They'll at least be over 500. Like I said, they're kind of on the fringe right now, but you said they were 23 and 24, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then, yeah, I think they'll at least improve in that aspect. Like, I don't think they'll no longer be, have more losses than they have wins. And hopefully, they'll get better a little bit, if nothing else. So,
And away from the MVP race, generally in the league, who would you say is your most improved player thus far?
that's a good question. Now I have to think. I know, like, some people try to throw Morant in there, but I wouldn't even necessarily call him an improved player because I mean he's always been, um, been talented. Coming into his rookie year, being rookie of the year as well. Um, that's a good question. I know, like, guys like Darius Garland potentially, just because of how well Cleveland's doing, and even him being Eastern Conference Player of the Week last week.
Yeah.
I think that could help his case. There's a couple players that are playing well that could win Most Improved, but he's kind of the first one that comes to mind. But that's not saying that he's a favorite or anything. But yeah, no, it could be a couple players. I think.
Yeah.
Who do you have in mind?
Yeah, definitely. Personally, Jordan Clarkson hasn't done too badly.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan,
True.
Jordan
Yeah.
Clarkson with the Utah Jazz, he won it last year, and the spotlight hasn't been on him.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
spotlight has been on Minion for too much. And for some reasons, Utah Jazz don't always get to be in the news, even when they do so well. I
Yeah.
don't know why. For the past 2-3 seasons, they usually are in the top three in the West.
Right.
And
Yep.
Donovan Mitchell has been able to carry the team quite well
Mm-hmm.
thus far. So Jordan Clarkson, lately Trey Young is improving.
Yeah.
Trey Young is improving. I saw what he did to the Milwaukee Bucks, especially on Martin Luther King Day. And as a result of that, he's currently the Eastern Conference Player of the Week,
Mm-hmm.
while Nikola Jokic is the Player of the Week. So he's doing quite well. Then another player that has improved, like I did say about his exploits, is DeMar DeRozan.
True.
DeMar DeRozan has proved critics wrong. When he was sold from Toronto Raptors in 2018 to the San Antonio Spurs, he sucked, and it took him a while to actually get going.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Greg Popovich and the current coach of Boston Celtics, talking about Ime Udoka, they were
Yeah.
able to get him going, but he struggled. And based on the fact that he's known to be a very, very bad defensive player, coming to Chicago Bulls, people felt, oh, the $280 million you're paying on him is quite too much for a player that didn't really impress
Yeah.
the San Antonio Spurs. But thus far, for a player that even got on the mention of the MVP race at some point, shows that there's been some exponential improvement in his all-round play.
True.
And apart from clutch plays and the fact that he's always getting in the midst trying to get the ball of opponents, he's also improved defensively in an area where people felt, oh, he's not so good in, especially pundits, sports analysts on the radio and TV around this part of the world in Chicago, where they felt, oh no, it's not so good. He's not going to add much to the Chicago beat. But I say that right about now, they've all been kept short, and DeMar DeRozan can do no wrong. So in
Yeah.
terms of improvement, personally, I think he's going to be in the mix. So DeMar DeRozan, Jordan Clarkson, and maybe Trey Young. This season, he hasn't been consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency has been an issue with him, but lately, he seems to have found his mojo back.
Yeah.
So if he stays on that pedestal and keeps getting better in his game, maybe by the end of this regular season, he's gonna be in the mix. Who knows? And away from that, let's talk about the defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, who has caught it for you?
There's a couple guys. Greek Freak, like I said.
Of course.
Yeah. It's like at this point, it's kind of, you definitely have to include him.
Mm-hmm.
Rudy Gobert is somebody who's always consistent every year defensively. Getting blocks, whether he's leading the league or whatever. Those two guys, and though he's hurt, and I know he might not necessarily be the favorite. A guy like Draymond Green who can defend multiple positions. Let's see if there's anybody else. I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Maybe even like somebody like Embiid or somebody, like just throwing somebody in there. But yeah, I'd say like the front runners are probably, like I said, Rudy Gobert. He's won it before in the past, and Giannis for me.
Well, obviously, those are the top two. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert is one player that doesn't get the credit that he deserves.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch his game week in, week out, you know that his wingspan is not just there for anything on the height. He's able to get rebounds, blocks, and what have you. Same with Giannis Antetokounmpo. That was why I said Giannis is an all-round player, offensively and defensively, and he's been able to get the team to be stable. And I guess the Milwaukee Bucks are just trying to, you know what? Let's just coast along with the regular season and unleash in the playoffs, like they did. I think they're just selling us a decoy. Let's not spread things too much. Let's not get injured. Let's just be in and among maybe the top 3 or the top 5 in the East, and whoever we get, let's unleash. Coach Mike Budenholzer, has been close to that for quite some time. Having lost in the Eastern Conference to the Boston Celtics some years back, and doing that, beating the Phoenix Suns last year. So basically, Giannis is going to be in the conversation. And you did mention Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is another player that, we talk about, how he slam dunks, how he's good offensively, but defensively as well, he's been rock solid.
Yeah,
especially when are they really missing Ben Simmons? If I might ask.
Yeah.
Are they missing Ben Simmons? Okay, we're gonna talk about Ben Simmons once we don't win the Defensive Player of the Year. But the top two, basically, if you ask me, has got to be Rudy Gobert and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, speaking of Ben Simmons, what's up with him?
And at this point, who knows? Like this, yeah. it's been an interesting situation to say the least. I don't know if he's going to get traded by the season, well, by the trade deadline. Uh, I don't know. It's just a crazy situation,
Do you think it
honestly.
was a sensible move?
I'm sorry.
Do you think it was a sensible move? You not maybe down tooling, not wanting to play, trying to
Hmm.
force a move out of the club, and at the end of the day, you are not earning a dime.
Right.
You're stuck,
Yeah.
and you've been in the news for quite some time. Oh, lately we've been talking about Charlotte Hornets being interested in him, but it's not cast in stone. At some point,
Exactly.
they did say
Yeah.
maybe he was going to move to Portland Trail Blazers when Damian Lillard was rumored to have said that he was interested in having him over in Oregon. And later, he said he never said anything of such because the news was that they were going to bring in the other guy. I'm trying to remember his name now. The other star apart from Damian Lillard for them to trade him to 76ers and Ben Simmons moving over to Oregon, Portland, Oregon with the Blazers.
Hmm.
But that was denied and it never saw the light of day. But afterwards, it's just been in limbo. Personally,
Exactly.
if you
Yeah.
ask me, I would say that was a dumb move.
It was. Yeah. No, it
That was a
was.
dumb move. You wanted to force a move out of 76ers and knowing that in the off season, no, in the post season, talking about the playoffs, there was talks that had he been a more committed player, the 76ers would not have been beaten the way they were beaten by, I think it was the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah. Yep.
The Atlanta Hawks that got the
Hmm.
better of them, and most of the blame rested on the shoulders of Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe he felt bad that, oh, why am I always getting the blame? Dude, your game didn't improve. It could be
True.
better. And rather than you working on your game getting better in the off season, maybe getting a private coach so that you can actually prove critics wrong, you wanted to force a move out of the club. And when that
And look
wasn't
where
a
it's got him.
possibility, Doc Rivers had to suspend him again, and they were deducting him money from what he was supposed to be earning.
Hmm.
Right about now, nothing has happened to him. Well, they are rich, I understand, but you not being in the mix, you become match rusty. You would also lose money.
Yeah.
Right now, if we hear that the Charlotte Hornets are interested in him, and with the trade season forthcoming by February 10,
Hmm.
maybe, just maybe, he might get to find some other club side in the NBA to actually play with. And I'm hoping he's going to learn from his lesson because
Yeah.
if he had maybe sought advice, I guess people who mean well for him would have advised him against trying to force a move out of a club because you're just an individual. The franchise, you can't be bigger than the franchise. You
Exactly.
can't be bigger than the franchise.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe
That's true.
is learning his lessons right now. And speaking of players who actually are hot heads or who try to be different from others, let's talk about Kyrie Irving.
Hmm.
The mandate in New York, the COVID-19 mandate is that if you are not vaccinated, you can't be seen around the sports facilities and what have you. How has that helped the cause of the Brooklyn Nets, knowing that Kyrie Irving was out of the team from October till early January when he
Hmm.
played his first game against the Indiana Pacers, and right now being a member of the team on an away team basis whenever they are on the road? Has that in any way helped their cause? Talking about Brooklyn Nets.
Um, it doesn't, but for right now, like with KD being hurt, they kind of need the help, any help they can get.
Mhm.
So even if they have Kyrie like on a part-time basis, it's kind of better than nothing right now. I know they definitely want him, on a full time, and uh, as we know, the vaccination status, that's been a story all season. kept him out for months. But yeah, like I said, even just having him back part time, I think that does benefit the Nets. And come playoff time, who knows what'll happen? Maybe he'll get the vaccine and can play full time, or I don't know. However, they're going to make that work, but really, we'll just have to see.
Well, I'm not sure if he's so keen to getting the vaccine because
Yeah,
if he wanted it, he would have gotten it all this while. And being an individual and an adult for that matter, you can't force him against his wish.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
really can't force him against his wish. And the franchise has been able to manage that matter quite well. But my concern for the team is you've been out of the team for quite a while, and the likes of James Harden, Kevin Durant, Lamarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, and the other support guys, and even Patty Mills.
Yeah.
The other support guys have been able to maybe they've been able to build rhythm, so to speak, in the absence of Kyrie.
True. Yeah.
My concern is him coming back into the team might just alter that understanding that the team has got. Fine, he's one of the best ball movers in the league. He wows me whenever he plays.
Yeah,
His
for sure.
movement is sleek and what have you. I know you're going to talk about that because he did excellently well in Ohio with the Cleveland Cavaliers when he won the championship with LeBron James in 2016. And even though he struggled at the Boston Celtics, I was hoping that this season that the trio of James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving would bond and get better because this season is about the time that Brooklyn Nets were supposed to actually be the major contender for the title.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they've been buying all the players, got a young coach who was one of the best PGs in its time, and having such a coach, and of course, an achieved player in Kevin Durant, you knew Kevin Durant will always make you become one of the top contending teams from the East, from the West rather, and if not the whole league. And getting, of course, Kyrie Irving and James Harden. James Harden for me has struggled because of injury, which is quite understandable. But if James Harden is able to roll back the years, and of course, having Kyrie Irving not distracted by the vaccine mandate and what have you, of course, without a doubt, in the East, it has got to be the Brooklyn Nets. So my concern right now is, in his absence, the team were able to solidify and build some measure of understanding. Now he's back and not playing on a consistent basis, only when they are on the road.
Yeah.
Now, when they are back at Brooklyn, he's not going to be there because he's not vaccinated. So when you play some games on the road, when you need to build some mastery, you're going to be absent.
True.
I get the feeling that it's going to maybe affect the rhythm of the team on the long run. And I'm just hoping that they are able to at least get their act together and, for the benefit of the game of basketball, especially in the playoffs, because I want to see the Brooklyn Nets. I want to see a fit Kevin Durant, a new and improved James Harden, and of course, a Kyrie Irving that is not prevented by the vaccine mandate. I want to see the best of basketball in that period, and I'm hoping they are able to sort that issue and get things done and over with. And lastly, before we end the session tonight, let's talk about players who you think will make things better if they make moves to other club sides. Do you think a Ben Simmons getting onto a team right now would contribute anything tangible to whichever team shows interest in him? And do you think his value would still be something that teams would be willing to want to bring him over for?
Yeah. His value has definitely taken a dip just because of how he's played out the season. but he's still young, and I think that him being young is still something that'll attract some, whoever's interested in him. Um, Obviously, offensively he has things to work on. Defensively, he's a solid defender. He can, pass on the offensive end. But yeah, youth is going to be the selling point to me. Um, any team that's willing to take him on just because of him being young enough to build around still.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's going to interest some teams, and he probably could benefit from the change of scenery.
Of course,
Maybe,
he wants a change of scenery.
yeah. I honestly think he could benefit from that, and hopefully that'll get him in the right headspace to where he can contribute and be a valuable member to wherever he lands. So, yeah, definitely a trade will benefit him, and yeah, whoever gets him gets a young player that they can build around. So I think it's kind of a win-win.
Well, speaking about young teams, Cleveland Cavaliers have a core of young players,
Mm-hmm.
from Colin Sexton to even Mobley,
Yeah.
Garland.
Mm-hmm.
Although you got Ricky Rubio out injured,
Yeah.
of yours out made you bring over Rondo
Rondo. Yep.
to help things around in the club. That core has surprised quite a number of avid basketball followers. How far do you think they can go this season?
Um. Well, not being biased, I would love to see them at least get past the first round. I don't know how far they're going to get, but just the idea of being in the playoffs and post LeBron, and just really this young core that they have, I think uh, definitely can make some noise in the future. Like you said, Mobley, Garland, those guys. They're definitely a team to watch out for, years from now, because they're all still relatively young and are only going to get better, especially like Mobley. Um, so just as a basketball fan in general, not even just a Cavs fan, I definitely want to see them in the playoffs. I think they have a good shot, of course, and hopefully getting past the first round. Hopefully that's not too much of a stretch. uh,
I was about saying that, although right now they are fifth
yeah,
in the league with a record of 29 and 19.
yeah,
29 and 19 is quite decent by their standard, knowing how shambolic they've been in the
exactly. Yeah.
past seasons. And personally, I am wowed, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I am wowed by that achievement so far. And if they can find themselves in the playing tournament, let alone the playoffs, that
Yeah.
will be
Right.
success. And if they are able to build upon that going forward, because I must say, thus far, they must have surprised themselves as well
Mm-hmm.
by how far or how good they've been so far. And even Mobley has, you know, I was hoping Jalen Green with the Houston Rocket, the number two draft pick.
Yeah.
I know Kid Cunningham was injured and it might take him some time to actually adjust to life.
Yeah.
But
Right.
even Mobley as is playing as though he's an established player, as though he's been involved with the Cleveland Cavaliers for years.
True.
And
That's true.
personally, if you ask me, I would say he's gonna do so much going forward, barring injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Because when a good player who's been showing effort and dishing out a performance game in game out, when some of them get injured, injury takes its toll
Yeah. Yeah.
on
Definitely.
them. Because I talked about James Harden recently, and when you see James Harden when he was improving at OKC and being the man that the team was built around the Houston Rockets, the current James Harden that we see these days at the Brooklyn Nets is a far cry from the James Harden that we knew from back in the day.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
because he's been in and out of injury and what have you. I hope even Mobley would be able to at least have a sustained positive and A game performances going forward. And with the likes of Gallant, watch out for the Cleveland Cavaliers going forward. And lastly, before we call it a wrap, Who would you think is gonna be your rookie of the year? Of course, I know, but just give me a few names of who
Mhm.
you think will be your rookie of the year at the end of the regular season.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned one of them already, Evan Mobley.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. I say he's the front runner right now,
Hmm.
but even there's guys like Scotty Barnes in Toronto. He was doing pretty good.
Yeah, Scotty Barnes as well, of course.
Yeah, he was doing pretty good. Um, what's his name from OKC? Josh Giddey.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. Uh, I feel like there might even be one more. From Orlando. Oh, what is his name? Oh, I can't think of
Yeah, I
it.
remember him. Oh boy, his name eludes me right now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
I can't
dear.
think of his
Stuff
name,
like
but
this happen when you try to remember the name and
right,
it just
right.
eludes you. Okay, yeah. Even Mobley, Scotty Barnes.
Hmm.
What about the top two picks, Jalen Green and Kate Cunningham? What impression have they made on you thus far?
Um, so far from what I've seen, I think I'll put it this way. I think they'll have bright futures. Years from now, I think they're kind of not doing what people expected them to do this year, but that's not to say that they won't have you know, um, good careers down the
Like,
line or
what the
they're
careers down
bust
the
or
list,
anything
yeah.
like that. Yeah. So.
Well, Jalen Green has been hot and cold. Kate
Mhm.
Cunningham, when he got back from injury, he did quite well, but
Yeah.
seemed to
Yeah.
fizzled out.
Yeah.
But clearly, the front runner for me has got to be even Mobley.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mentioned Josh Giddy of the OKC. Josh Giddy almost stole a win yesterday in a game between the OKC and the Chicago Bulls.
Hmm.
It ended 111-110. And Josh Giddy and Shai Gills Alexander were the two front runners trying to, because at some point, Chicago Bulls were leading by as much as 22 points.
Right.
But Josh Giddy was in the mix, distributing passes and getting some shots himself. And they came really, really, really close. So Josh Giddy is one player to also look out for. But
Hmm.
definitely it has got to be even Mobley,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the predictions going into the season was between who's going to be better between Jalen Green and Kate Cunningham.
Right.
That was the prediction. Even
Hmm.
Mobley was maybe somewhere in the fourth or the fifth position in terms of who will amount to much in the league. But thus far, it has got to be even Mobley.
Yeah.
Even if his form drops right now, it's got to be the rookie of the year for me. And lastly, before we go, some games are being played right now. And the game between the New Orleans Pelicans and the 76ers, they are in the fourth quarter, but the Pelicans are in the lead right now.
Really.
And it's quite surprising. The Pelicans, well, the Pelicans surprised me last week when they beat the New York Knicks.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that game. Yep.
And I'm like, well, it's the NBA, especially in sports. You never say never. The worst team might get to be the best team.
True.
The Orlando Magic did beat the Chicago Bulls last week. And I
Yep.
was asking myself, if the worst team is getting to beat one of the best team in the East, then stuff happens basically. So in other games, the one between the Nuggets and the Detroit Pistons, they
Mhm.
just ended the third quarter. It's right now 97-85. And again, between the Charlotte Hornets and the Raptors in fourth quarter, the Raptors are in the lead by 111 compared to 89 points that the Hornets have gotten. The Los Angeles Lakers and the Wizards, it's 81-94 in favor of the Wizards. While the Boston Celtics and the Sacramento Kings, the Boston Celtics are pummeling the Sacramento Kings, one of the worst teams in the league as well. Guess
Yeah.
what? In the third quarter, it's 81-46.
Oh
Right.
wow.
So, the game between the Los Angeles Lakers, well, you would expect that's going to get close. The Lakers are in the lead by 75 to 69. And we still got games later tonight between the Mavericks and the Warriors, not forgetting the Timberwolves and the Trail Blazers. Now, the Mavericks, they've not been, you know, I'm not sure they've really impressed this season. And Luka Doncic, what do you make
Mhm.
of the performance of Luka Doncic as an individual and the Mavericks franchise as a team so far?
Um, I'd say the Mavericks are they're decent. I think they're having a solid season. Um, I'm not entirely sure where they're at in the standings right now.
I will check it out right now.
Okay, but yeah, no, I say they're solid, and Luka's gonna be Luka, even if he has ups and downs, whatever. He's a talented player. He's gonna do what he's gonna do.
Well, right now they are 27-20.
Okay.
And they are fifth in the Western
Oh,
Conference.
okay, yeah.
They're
So yeah,
definitely candidates for the playoffs. And Luca is
yeah,
gonna,
for sure.
like we say, Steph gonna Steph. So Luca gonna Luca. And
Yep.
looking at the game tonight, well, in this kind of games, you just want to sit back and enjoy the best of basketball. Although for the Golden State Warriors, we understand that the ACL that kept the other half of the Splash Brothers, talking about Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
News is that it's sprained right now, so it's not certain if he's going to be playing because they don't want to, stretch the injury. And I hope he doesn't suffer a relapse. I hope he doesn't suffer a relapse because the Splash Brothers, they are a delight to watch every now and then. Although they've coped in his absence, talking about the Golden State Warriors, but in his absence, they've struggled.
Yeah.
Because we saw, who would have imagined the Memphis Grizzlies getting to be the Golden State Warriors in the playing tournament last season? Nobody would have thought about that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because they were missing a key player. So it affected them. Draymond Green also is injured for now, but if they get the compliments of Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and of course, Steph Curry, and Andre Iguodala, who's back from Miami Heat, with a lot of experience, is going to give the likes of Jordan Poole, Wiggins, and of course Gary Payton Jr. So watch out for the Golden State Warriors. And with an experienced coach in Stephen Kerr, you definitely know that they're going to be in the mix. In tonight's game, win or lose, I know those teams are going to make the playoffs eventually. And is there anything you still want us to talk about before we call it a wrap?
No, I think we did a pretty good job. Covered a lot of stuff. And it was a good talk as well. So,
definitely.
Good job, first time, guys. And we'll set it up, and I'll have you guys talk to Johnny Sunchips. He's the executive producer, and we'll get everything rolling.
So definitely we'll be doing this on a quite regular basis, where we'll talk about happenings in the NBA. We're still going to talk more about the All-Star weekend because it's weeks away from now. Topics are going to be emanating around that event. So it's something we're going to dwell more on. The trade season that's forthcoming. And of course, juicy stories from the league, talking about players being injured and others getting back from injury. You're not going to be lacking in stories and what to talk about as regards the NBA. That's why I love the game.
Exactly.
Right.
Coyote?
Totally
agree.
Gabian, great job tonight. First show. This is Ear to the Ground Sports, E2G E2G Sports Network. Signing off. And our first show tomorrow will be First Formation at 10 o'clock here on StreamYard with Trey and Bishop. 2-hour plus show. So again, to you guys, thank you very much. Virgin Excursion is done. You guys go enjoy your evening, and thank you very much.
All right. Appreciate it.